Hi everybody, welcome back to Langley Lab. My name is Hael, like Hi L, and I'm so excited to present this episode where we show you and walk you through platform configuration fields. If you're new here, I try to roll these out at least once a month. However, life gets busy, so sometimes they're a little more spread apart. But thank you to my one and wonderful employee for putting this presentation together. I hope that it is helpful for all of you that are watching. Let's get into it.
Hello again. So today we are going to go over how to create a platform configured field in UKG Pro. If you're new to UKG Pro and this video is your first walkthrough to platform configuration, I hope that it is helpful. We will be using the new experience that will become standard in March of 2026. So buckle up, because even for those of you that are familiar with platform configuration, a lot of these screenshots may be new to you because of the new experience and the new look that they are rolling out to all users. So we're not only going to see platform configured fields, though. I have a little extra bonus content at the end, thanks to my wonderful, wonderful employee. And so let's dive into it. So what is a platform configuration field, right? A PC field is a custom field that lets your organization track what it needs. Obviously, UKG does not come already with every single field that your company is going to need. For example, a lot of companies track whether an employee is remote or not. And they did this before UKG rolled out a remote feature. So it is important that you assess what your organization needs and implement those new custom fields based on the needs of the organization. The capabilities include custom data storage, so you can store it at the employee level, at the job level, or even at the company level. So it's very, very important. And when I say company level, I mean the other company information. So not necessarily associated with the company. So that's really cool. Platform configuration is also really popular because you can do text, you can do dates, a number, a drop down, and so much more. I'm going to walk through an example here shortly, so stick with me. You can also have security controls associated with it. So who can view it, who can edit it at a really granular level based on your organization's roles or even role types. So we'll walk through what that could look like as well. So works across the UKG Pro. So you can have reporting out on it. Now, onboarding is definitely one of those areas that does not have PC fields, and neither does recruiting. I think they have their own set of configured fields, and we won't be covering that today. But I will say that there is exciting news around onboarding and new custom fields coming out. So be on the lookout of that, and I believe and hope that it's going to be connected to the platform configured fields. That way, employees could start populating those way in advance versus after they've already been hired. Because as of now, as of December 2025, they are not in that system. So really important to note. I know it says it works across UKG Pro, but just making that note that it does not work with onboarding or recruiting at this point in time. But there are some exciting enhancements coming up. And then it supports workflow automation. So you can have alerts triggered from this. You can have approvals and actions triggered, which is really, really exciting. So if you want it, have an if and then statement. If they selected yes for remote, then route to, HR group number 1, then you could do that. And then you can have reports and it reported out via APIs, data exports, or report exports, as it's called. So it's really helpful. You can also mass import into these fields. It does take a little bit of configuration. I won't be going over that today, but just know that you can. And there's a ton of resources on the UKG community to learn how to do that. So absolutely search for it, learn it, completely worth it. All right. First step in creating a PC field, which is shorthand for platform configuration field. You will create a business rule. And in this new look, you can see right here, that you have to go to system configuration, or you can scroll down on the side menu to go to application setup. Once you do that, you will see a plethora of the options. And the one that you care about is system configuration and then business rules. In our example today, we will be creating a drop down for t-shirt sizes. As you can see here, we added a business rule just by clicking on the actions little toggle add and click OK. Now, if you don't have that option, it might be because of your security permissions. So contact your administrator or your super admin to see if you're able to do this or if they're able to do this for you. So we add our options by clicking that add here. We assign it a code that will make sense to us and future us. So S for small, M for medium, L for large. And we make sure we click save, which is that little icon right there. And we go to the next step. Step 3, you will go to role administration and select the role that you want to view this newly created business rule that you just created. By default, if you go back into business rules, you're like, where's my t-shirt size that I just created? I've been there. Many of my peers have been there. You actually have to go into the role administration area, select the role that you want to add or make this business rule visible to. And under the business rule access rights area, you will be able to make this viewable or editable by that selected role. Now, business rules is just simply the table, the backend table where you can store the options that you have. In a lot of cases, for example, our t-shirt size list. So it's not something you just give out unless that person is responsible for managing the options in that drop-down list. So just keep that in mind for a role. So you wouldn't necessarily give this to, let's say, your employee because they don't need to see the business rule list and be able to see small, medium, large. That's just something that would be done by the administrator, whoever is in charge of updating that rule. So once you do that, you will see it under business rules. And the next step here, you're going to go under platform configuration. Again, we're still in application setup, but now we're in the platform configuration and content management area. We will click platform configuration and go to classes. Now it's really nice here. You can't see the full screenshot here, but it does give you a step-by-step guide here. Not very explanatory, mind you. So I'll go through it and make sure that you understand at least the high level of this. So the first thing you have to do is create the field within the class that you want to assign it to. Think of it as kind of like the buckets of data that you want it to be associated with or viewable under, because sometimes you can add fields that aren't necessarily within a class, but you can make them viewable. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to add a field or a t-shirt size field to a specific class. We're going to associate it with the employee class because it kind of makes the most sense there. But as you can see, there are so many other options. So if you wanted to add a custom field or drop down that's associated with contacts, you could do that. Or contracts, if you store contracts in the system. So plenty of other options here. This isn't all of them. There's about 27 entries, as you can see down there. So lots of things to explore there. Now, I will say that you might want to work backwards. And what I mean by that, I'll go through this, there are pages, and then there's data services, and then there are classes. So if you try to add it to a specific class, and then that data service, you're going to make it viewable in that data service, but that data service isn't on the page that you want it to show up on, you might have a little bit of disconnect, right? So I know from my experience that the employee class is in all of those personal employee pages. So it's going to show up on the name, address, telephone number page. It's going to show up on all the personal employee information. So I know that that's the class I want to choose. Now, if I wanted to add something under the job or employment area, I would go to the employment class, which you can't see here, but it does have an employment class. So if you're adding a custom field to jobs, which is the other popular option, I would look up the class of employment and add it there. So let's take a look at what that looks like. First, we will create the configured field. There will be this big gray button that says create configured field. We're going to click that. And then we will be given an option of what kind of field we want to create. Now, this is just a general field. You get, I think, 2 or 3 options here, but the one we're going to select for this example is field. And then we will click create. Then we will go ahead and add the name of the field we are creating. T-shirt size is an example. And then you can add different versions that you want to make visible. So versions, think of them as like labels. So let's say internally, you know that it's T-shirt size, but for the company, they call them T's. You could type in T's here. And when you're adding it to the actual page, you can select what version of the label you want to use. So that's kind of helpful there. So the description is typically the same thing as the name, or maybe you want to elaborate further, like T-shirt sizes for first day onboarding, celebration, or for future company events. It could be anything. That's not visible to the employee, so go at it. And then for this type here, we're going to select business rule. And when we select business rule, this next dropdown will become available to view, and we'll be able to select the business rule we created, which is called T-shirt size. And you'll see plenty of other dropdowns. If you have access to see other business rules, you'll probably see it. And again, if you can't see this section, you can't see platform configuration, it's probably due to your security rights in the system. So contact your administrator to get access or ask them to do something for you. All right. The next thing here is you can make things effective dated. So if you wanted to store a historical record of when the employee, for example, changed their T-shirt size, maybe they went from a medium to a small or extra small, etc., and you wanted to track when that was changed, you could check this box here and note that there is a warning here that's cut off here, but it basically says that it will only work, the effective date will only be collected for this field if it is on a page where it is supported. So if you try to do it on a page that doesn't have effective dating, like for example, the private information page, this will not collect an effective date. It will have a date time created stamp in the auth table, so that's a different method to go in, but it won't have an effective date. So really important to know there. And then you have the security policies area down below. And this is where you can really get specific with whether you want the employee to be required to select an option here. So you can say if it should be hidden, except for specific employees. You can make it required for very specific employees. So like, let's say people out in the field, you want them to have the uniform for this part. So you want it to be required for them. You can make it required for them. If they're in a specific region or location, sometimes I would check out what options you have here under this hyperlink. I'm not going to be going too much into detail. Again, this is a pretty high level, but if you'd like to see a different video on how to use these usage rules or access rules, and there's another one down below that called validation rules, which I'm a big fan of because you can make certain things required based on certain conditions that are met across other fields on the same page. So very, very fun to do. Optional is the standard default. So I'm just going to keep that there. Okay, next step. Now we've added it to the class. Now we're at step 2. We are going to add it to the data service. Again, this is on the actual UKG Pro interface. We're going to select data services. It's trying its best to guide us. Then we're going to choose the data service. Now, this is kind of where we can see a little bit more description of what area we want to add it to in UKG Pro. In our case, we want it to be stored under the name, address, telephone number page. 'Cause that's where most employees go to update their personal contact information and a lot of other related fields, like maybe t-shirt size that we might be sending them to their address. So we're going to select that employee standard data service. There are a ton more data services that are not listed here. So if you're like, I don't see such and such data service, go ahead, use the search box that's located at the top right to look for it, or even key terms that may be associated with what you're looking for. All right. Then we will go ahead and expand the class. So this is kind of where we see the class that we added it to. Like I said, there's an employment class that you can see right here, and then a personal information class, primary name class. So there's a lot of different classes that are joined here. The one I know we added it to is this employee class. So we're going to go ahead and expand that by selecting this little arrow next to the fields, or even that hyperlink. And we're going to search for t-shirt size. Now, if you have a lot of fields and you're overwhelmed, do Control F on your keyboard to find it by the keyword. So go ahead and check both boxes because you want to make it viewable and editable, whatever you're going to add it to. And this does not mean that like everybody will be able to edit it. It just means that it will be made available for both options on the page. If you only wanted it to be viewable, you could. But again, like I said, there are certain access rules you can permit. So if you don't want administrators to be able to change employees' t-shirt sizes, you can restrict them from being able to do so for other employees, except themselves. All right. And number 3 on that page, but step 14, we are going to add it to our page. We're finally at the step. So look at that. It looks like the same name is used there. So that's the nice thing about data services. Sometimes the names line up exactly, which is great. We are going to add it to that name, address, telephone page. So let's select that. And this is where there's going to be a controlled area. So that's where we're going to start off first. Right now, this screenshot is showing properties, but under controls, you will see the ability to drag and drop a field or like a control. So we dragged and dropped it right here to the right-hand side. You can drag it wherever you want on this page. We just put it under marital status in this example. And then it will give you the option to associate it with a field you have added to that data service and that class. So that's why we can see employee t-shirt size. And remember, I told you you can use a different version label, like maybe you call it T's internally. This is why this number 1 is there. It's using our first translation or first label that we configured earlier. You don't really edit these other ones. You can edit the way the description is if you wanted to include the code and the description in the dropdown for them to choose from. You could do that. Visibility rules are automatically defaulted to everyone. But again, if you wanted to restrict certain people from being able to change their t-shirt size, which I don't know why you would, but if you have somebody you do want to restrict it from, you could enable this. Let's say you wanted to add fields to a termination page. You don't want everybody to be able to edit the same fields. Maybe your payroll's editing fields, marking tasks as complete on the payroll page, which you can do, true or false checkboxes on termination pages. You would want to restrict those fields from other people being able to edit them. Like maybe the manager shouldn't be touching those. So lots to do here as well. And then once you're done, you'll go ahead and click save. Now, I didn't mention this. I skipped this part a little bit, but there are 2 different toggles at the top here. So be sure you know which one you're adding it to. If you're in the view toggle, which will look like this, but on the view side, it means that you're only adding it to the view only side of the page. If I toggle it to the edit side, that means I am actually adding it to the edit version of that page. You can add it to both because you want the employee to be able to see that, maybe that t-shirt size. But maybe there are fields that you only want to add to the edit side. And so that's why that option is there. This is what our beautiful, beautiful little field looks like now. It's added right there, right underneath marital status. And again, this is under the personal details area of the change name, address, and telephone number. And this is what our drop down looks like because we chose to only show the description. But if we wanted to show the code dash description, we could have done that as well. And that's what it would look like for the employee. But guess what? We have some bonus. So we're going to go briefly over another configured field, but this one's called the user defined field in the UKG Pro experience. Now, before I jump into that, let's take a quick look at the differences between PCF, which is the shorthand for platform configured fields, and user defined fields, or AKA UDF. So overall versatility, like I mentioned, platform configured is much more highly versatile and configurable, but user-defined fields have limited functionality, as you'll see in this whole thing. The high-level items here, the big deal differences, user-defined fields are very limited to either text, integer, or date options. And you have a limited number that you can actually use. Now, the reason people tend to use user-defined fields over platform configured fields is because of the reporting ease that you get from them. Whereas PCF fields require a little more advanced reporting knowledge to be able to report or trigger alerts from them. User-defined fields are built into the package most of the time, so you can just pull them into a report. They're in most of the packages, so it's a lot easier to add them to your reports. And Event Studio, it's in there as well and can be imported or updated in the web import tool. However, it can't be effective data, so they are static fields. And the default placement is under the other company info page or other personal info. You can add them to other pages, but it will not be effective dated. It still remains static. So just an item to note there. And you would use platform configuration to add them to those other pages, as I was talking about earlier. So lots of crossover knowledge there, but you can perform calculations with them. There's a limited number of fields that UKG gives you with these. So that's why a lot of people resort to platform configured fields. You can't use drop downs. So with UDF fields, you can limit the characters and you can make it visible to administrators, managers, or employees. Those are your three options there. So not as much flexibility as you can with PCF fields. So definitely something to consider before choosing either option. So first steps first, we're going to go to business rules. That is where all of our user-defined fields are stored. Then we are going to search for user-defined fields. Again, if you can't see this business rules area, might be a security reason. And then you would search for user-defined fields and then search for one that is currently not in use. If you can see here in the description area, these two fields have other names. This EEC UD field 01 has, for example, passport ID. And I can see boxes are checked here. Previous boxes are checked here, showing they are currently viewable to employees and potentially even editable, but you'd have to drill down to see further. Whereas this one down here, the third one, it says field not in use. So that is something you'd want to pay attention to. You'd want to use the ones that say field not in use. When you do that, you can click into the hyperlink and then you can add the description. So for example, a lot of people choose to add a remote worker field to track that information somewhere so it's reportable. And then you can associate it with whatever countries you want. In this example, we selected all. And then you can select who it should be viewable by. Really important here to pay attention to the max characters and the field type, right? So I know for this one, it's probably going to be a Y or an N if they're a remote worker or not. So it's fine for it to be a text field, but just note that they can enter up to 10 fields. So that might make it a little tricky to track that information. All right. And this is what it would look like. We added it to the other company information area of UDF fields, but there is also an other personal information. So choose wisely. You can make either visible to whoever you need to in security rights or user administration and role administration. So once you edit that role, you can go to any employee, click on the employee, go to the jobs and other company information in the employee profile, and click edit on the pencil icon to actually add information to that field. In our example here, we just typed in a Y, we're clicking save, and now you see that the Y is showing up there. Again, much easier to report on. So we hope that you found this information and presentation fun, helpful, and if you think that we would vibe and you want to work together, hit me up. Info at langleyconsultingllc.com. The grind is real. I'm so, so grateful for all the customers and clients that I've been able to work with so far. And it's just been a privilege and an honor. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to do this kind of work to help customers optimize systems and their UKG Pro products because it makes me so happy to bring ROI. There's just like an intangible there that brings so much happiness to me. So, just like the little animated character. So, if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe below. I hope to see you at the next one. See you next time. Bye.